No, that can't be.
What is it?
Talking to myself.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Nun Vav Shech to Howard for 7.
So what is that? Nun Vav?
Nun Vav and Aleph for the top.
Welcome back, Rebbe. He's superior sub.
Very good.
He really is good.
Okay, good,
Not
good.
superior to you, but
I'm saying, yeah,
he's really
yeah, good.
Let's offend everybody.
I like having good options.
he's a
This guy's the man.
We'll offend everybody, and then we'll feel bad.
Jack. We should make Jack is the goat. So we got to
Feel bad.
Nun Vav. We were discussing separations and boundaries, and when something is ownerless, is it one large field, or if it's separated by something, is it two? And there's different halachas. We've been talking about making kinyanim, but there's also other halachas when it comes to peya, right? Is it one field or two fields? Is it is there's one corner or not? So also we were discussing by Shabbos.
Okay.
The Gemara said by Shabbos, and if a person does so, towards the bottom, you're saying that one says if it's done during one helam, during one point of slipping the same time, then he's chai. But if there's two halves that don't add to helam, and then Rabbi Yossi says even that which we say in helam echad, it's only one rishus is chai, but two rishuyos is pater. Now, if he goes ahead and brings it to two different rishuyos, then he's pater. So, what is considered to be two rishuyos? What is the separation in this rishus harabim? So, second line from the top, the Omer Rabba, who sheyesh chiyuv chatas b'neihem. So, you know what's the separation between two rishus harabims? If there's a rishus chata, something which is a chatas, you bring a chatas to let's say you're the machlis or noitzi from rishus hayachid to rishus harabim. So, therefore, if there's rishus hayachid in between, then it's considered to be separated. Anything less than that is considered to be one long, connected rishus harabim. But Carmelis low, but a Carmelis, right? Something which is, let's say, separated by something that is not its own rishus hayachid, maybe less than 10 tefachim, between 4 and 10 is a Carmelis low. And by Yom Afilu Carmelis, no, even a Carmelis separating about pisla low, but a pisla, right, a small, let's say, a block of wood. That would not be a separation between two rishus harabims, and therefore you put a half in one and a half in other words is considered to be connected. Rabbi Omar and Rabbi says a filo pisla, and even pisla, even something small as a block of wood, that is considered to be a separation, and therefore it's not those two chatzi shirim would not be mitzarif to be chayiv akadas and Shabbos. And Rabbi Latame damar Rabba. Rishus Shabbos, Rishus getting dummy, right? That just like when it comes to gittin, we're very specific, and a guy throws something, but let's say it lands on the block of the wood, and it's not considered to be right in the Rishus that he gave her. We're very strict when it comes to that. So too, when it comes to Shabbos, it's also everything is considered to be separated unless there's nothing in between the two of them. So we're very medactic that this small separation is considered to be separation according to Rava on Shabbos. Now, Ein Sham Lo Yimetz V'Lo Yichatzav Mai. So let's say a person wants to go ahead and acquire a field. All right. So let's say the field is 10 acres, right? 100 acres, right? He goes ahead and he wants to acquire the 100 acres. So what does he have to do? Right? There's no separation. So Pesher Meres Mishmo Kol Shenigas Al Shemo. Anything that's called is considered to be one. In other words, I don't have to go ahead and go around all things. Let's say the place is called Lamb's Farm, right? So I go ahead and anywhere at Lamb's Farm, because the whole thing is known as Lamb's Farm. So anywhere I go ahead and make a kinyan, right? If it's not known by a certain name, so then it's basically considered to be a lot of parcels next to each other. So therefore, I got to go ahead and make kinyanim on the different parcels. But if it's all known under one name, because there is no separation at all between the lands, they're adjacent to one another, I can just go ahead and make one one chazaka. Now, Amar Papa, the Karle Begagusa de Plania, right? It's called certain so and so's watering spot. If one watering area is waters in a very very large field, but it's all known by that watering hole. So therefore, then you can make one simple kinyan. And Yosef Rav Acha bar Avia Kamed Rav Asi, Vyosif, and he was saying Vikamar, and he was teaching Mishmed Rav Asi bar Chanina Chatzuva. So this Chatzuva that we're talking about, which is like a bush, which is a boundary, like a small, little bush. I guess we use those like evergreens. Those little evergreens today is like you see people's yards, darted, right? But this is just a plant. There's no fence. So right. So bar Chanina Chatzuva Mafsik Benisei Ager. So is considered to be a separation when it comes to the custom of the gears. It separates two fields, even if they are adjacent to one another. So my katsuva, what is it? Katsuva, Samrav Yehuda Marav, Shabai Tichem Yoshua Lisas Aretz. Right? They used to go ahead and plant these, right? Yoshua, and the times of Yoshua, when they were conquering the land and separating the land, they used to go ahead and use these as boundaries because the roots they would go straight down, they wouldn't grow out, and therefore there wouldn't be, they're pretty straight, almost as effective as a fence.
Right, so all these cars that we're learning.
Yeah.
All about this here, that I know yours, right?
Nechseh ger, now is right.
Because anybody gets hefker, right? If you
Hefker, right? So because that's the only scenario. Now, whatever kids he had before he converted, and therefore he has no blood relatives after.
If it was somebody who did have yours, it was a Jewish field,
right?
Whatever. Then nothing here applies.
Right. Then it goes to the
right.
Right.
You need a Kenyan, you need all the
right. So and also over here, in those cases, so there already is rights given to somebody. So since there's rights, there's minimum amount of me to do. But over here, there is no das makna. There is no, two parties, one giving, one receiving. So therefore, since there's someone's giving, I only have to do half the work by receiving. But if there's nobody giving, i.e. hefker, then you have to do a full kinyan, and now that's the question, all right? All these scenarios are talking about where there is no das makna, because when there was a makna,
3 or 4 blocks,
right? If one guy wanted to give over someone multiple fields, right, and the makna is giving it over, and then the one guy is able to be kind of one field and be kind of all the other fields, on behalf of that. And Vamarav Marav Leiman Yoshua. Right, and that by the cities that were, the Yeshua was mentioned, were those not all the cities. Rather, those are all the border cities. Border whether Eretz Yisrael to the outside or even Eretz Yisrael from with one another. And Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, another statement: Kol Shavru HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Moshe Chayiv B'Maiser. Any area that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed Moshe Rabbeinu for his Petir and Eretz Yisrael, all those areas are Chayiv B'Maiser. So Lafuke Mai, to exclude what? Lafuke Knizi V'Kadmaiti. Right? These areas, even though despite the fact that they were promised over to Avram Avinu, nevertheless, they would not be Chayiv, those areas, I guess, further out, they would not be Chayiv Maiser. And Tanah and Baiser of Meir Aimer, Naftusa Ava, I think it's the Shalma'ah, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 areas of Kini, Knizi, and Kadmoni, and Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. No, those 3 are Har Seir, Ammon, and Moab. Those are the regions of Har Seir, Ammon, and Moab that some of them were conquered. Some of them were conquered later on by Sichon, and therefore those some of the areas that were conquered, but not all. So those areas, were not. I'm sorry.
What's the Havamina to say they would be Chayiv Meiser if they're in Putzlar?
Because that was promised over to Avram Avinu, right? And it was Shimon Aimer, and what are these?
Weren't those also?
We're right. We're right before right before the Mishnah on Nun Vav Amud Aleph towards the bottom. Mm-hmm. Which on the 8 right?
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Moab.
Right. So. Right. But not all those areas were conquered. The parts that was conquered, right? So those areas were chayiv, right? Those were chayiv, but not all the areas were conquered by there. And so for those areas that were not conquered, those and even eventually those areas would not be chayiv for Trumas Ma'asos. And Rosh Aimer, what are those areas? Those are Diskis, Asya, Vaspmaya, right? And I guess some Ardiskis, that is over here. It says Damascus. They are the region of Damascus and Asia Minor and Aspamia. That's what it says. All right. Nayim Mishnah. We got to the Mishnah on Nun Vav Amud Aleph. The Mishnah says, Hoyu Shnayim Me'idim Oiso Shachla Shalei Shanim. So we're back to the Chazak of 3 years, right? 3 years in order, a person has to protect his deed for 3 years. If he loses it, he doesn't have it. But he's been in it for 3 years, and therefore, he should have been kicked off if it wasn't his. Must have bought it, so therefore we can assume he bought it. 2 people testify that we saw him for 3 years. And it turns out, they could not have seen him be there for 3 years because they were out of the country. They were somewhere else. And therefore, why were they testifying? They were testifying because they wanted the other guy to lose his field. So therefore, there's a halach of Eidim Zayim that which you want to do to others, that you get that punishment. So that field is worth $1,000. And these 2 witnesses attempted to establish a chazaka in somebody else's name. They have to go ahead and pay the owner $1,000. So they have to go ahead and pay everything. Now let's say let's say you have 2 people testify about year 1, 2 people testify about year 2, and 2 people testify about year 3, and they become zayim. The shalshlin b'neim, they go ahead and they split a third. So the field was worth $9,000. So the first witnesses. Those 2 guys have to pay $3,000, right? And the second witness is $3,000. Third witness is $3,000. So that is the amount that they have to go ahead and pay. Let's say this case. Shloisha achim. Now, let's say you have 3 years, and each year you have a brother.
Okay.
Testify. So Reuven, Shimon, and Levi are brothers. So Bob and Reuven testify about year 1. Shimon and Bob testify about year 2. And Levi and Bob about year 3. So every year there's 3 brothers, one stranger and the brother. The year 2, year 3. Now, they are really considered to be now 3 different sets of witnesses. It's like 2 witnesses, right? It's like 2 witnesses did the first year, 2 separate witnesses the second year, 2 separate the third year. So therefore, there are no brothers really testifying with one another. Now, each brother is just testifying with a stranger. With Bob, when I say a stranger, I mean Bob could be strange, but he's non-related, right? So he's with a non-relative, and therefore they would be able to go ahead and testify each one about year 1. Year 1 has nothing to do with year 2, right? The combination of 1, 2, and 3 makes it a chazaka. But they're not nogea, but they're not considered to be relatives. Kroivim testifying, but to make him zayim, all of them have to be found to be zayim. They're considered to be 1 aegis for Azama. You need all 4 of them to bust it, but if indeed you do all 4, then Bob and Reuven have to pay for year 1, Bob and Shimon have to pay for year 2, and Bob and Levi have to pay for year 3. Fine, that was the Mishnah. So Zak the Gemara, 3rd line for the top of the page.
Talk about the zones are only in years 1, 3, and 2.
Right. So then there'll be. So then they'll be putter. Right. In other words, you have to have the full testimony, because it's only with the full testimony is a chazaka created. But if you don't have the full testimony, right, it'll be almost tantamount to you have 4 witnesses and 3 of them are found to be zayim, and the other one's not. So the whole kat is not considered to be found zayim. But we're going to see some cases like this. So let's see the Gemara. So Masnis and the like Rabbi Kiva. Our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Kiva. What did Rabbi Kiva say? The time we learned Brisa, I'm Rabbi Yaisi. Shalach Abba Chalafto Eitzel Rabbi Yechon Menuri L'Lmod Torah. When Abba Chalafto went over to Rabbi Yechon Menuri to learn Torah, V'Amidan, some says Rabbi Yechon Menuri Eitzel Abba Chalafto L'Lmod Torah, and some says the other way around. Amar Lo Hareish Lacha Shana Rishayna B'Fnei Shnayim. The first year was eaten in front of 2 witnesses. Then Shneim B'Fnei Shnayim, and the second year was in 2 different witnesses. And third year Shlishi B'Fnei Shnayim. Mahu Amar Lo Hareizu Chazaka. That's considered to be a chazaka. You got 3 years. You got 2 witnesses in the first year, 2 witnesses in the second year, 2 witnesses in the third years. And I also say that. However, Ella Rabbi Kiva chelik b'davar zen. Rabbi Kiva argues on this, right, which is the basic case in the Mishnah. But he says it's not a chazaka. You need one group to do all 3 years. You can't separate the group. Why? Rabbi Kiva Aimer. It says davar. Right? Positive lo yakum ein echad v'ish l'chol avan l'chol chad l'chol chedesh yavda al pi shnayim al pi shleish edim yakum davar. Right? The entire matter. So shayu Rabbi Kiva Omer davar v'lo chatzi davar. So according to Rabbi Kiva, you have to testify about the matter. What is the matter? The matter is a full chazaka. Right? So a full chazaka, that's edim zayim. Right?
So, according to Rabbi Akiva, only one set of it, you
Correct.
have to testify.
All 3
about
years.
3 years.
Correct. So that's what we're saying. Our mission is like Rabbi Kiva, because Rabbi Kiva says, davar, the entire matter has to be done by one.
To be a chazak.
Right. V'rabbanan hai davar v'lo yichatzi davar ma'avid. So what do they do with this? Ilem l'miyutei echad omer achad begava v'echad omer v'echad omer achas bekrisa. Let's say you have 2 witnesses, and one they want to go ahead and testify whether a woman is a gedolah. So she needs simanim, right? She needs to have a physical signs to say that she's mature enough to be gedolah. So or bogeres. So she needs 2 hairs. So one person testifies about a hair, let's say on the back, right? Al-Gaba, and the other one by Krisa, by your stomach. So those are the 2 hairs. So hi chatzi davar of chatzi edisi, right? That's not chatzi davar. It's chatzi edis. No, that's nothing. If you have one person testify about 1 hair and the other 2 hairs, you definitely don't have. So Rabbi Kiva can't be the Rabbanan can't be using that. You don't need a pasuk for that. That's pashut, right? But it's like a $200 loan, right? And one guy saw $100, and another guy saw the other $100. So you didn't have 2 witnesses see, right? The $200. Rather, you have 2 witnesses say that they saw 1 hair. And the 2 other witnesses say they saw another hair. So in that case, the Rabbanan would say, no, that is not considered to be over here. That's each one is only testifying a certain part. But in our case, right, the witnesses see the entire year. So therefore, the witnesses are testifying about all the Metzias at that time. All the Metzias at that time was the person who's eating for the year. But over here, when you have 2 witnesses about 1 hair, they're not seeing the entire the entire physical situation, right? As opposed to the other one, that person did see everything.
Right.
His time was only 1 year as opposed to 3 years. Therefore, that's considered, according to the Rabbanan, that would be good edus. As opposed to when you only see half of the the things going on, i.e., 1 hair, that's not good edus. And Amar Rav Yehuda, echad omer achla chitim, echad omer achla sairim. One person says the guy was eating wheat, and the other person says the guy was eating barley. Harei zeh chazaka. That is a good chazaka, right? It is a good chazaka. Oftentimes people would switch off eating wheat and barley. And therefore, so perhaps over here, we're talking about that case. We have to soon see what this Rav Yehuda is talking about. So maybe, and we'll soon see Rav Nachman's assumption is over here, we're talking about that one guy said it was wheat. I saw him doing wheat in years 1, 3, 5. And the other guy said, no, I saw the guy doing barley in years 2, 4, 6. So according to both of them, the guy was doing chazaka. So that's Rav Nachman's havmina. So Master Rav Nachman, could this be the case? One guy said he ate in years 1, 3, and 5. In 2, 4, 6. Hakinami. There's a chazaka, right? That which this one testifies is not good. That which the other one testifies is not good. So how can it be what you're saying? No. This is how you understand it. Over there, yes. If you're talking about every other year, 1, 3, 5, it says 1 witness, and the other witness says years 2, 4, 6. You're right. Each one. But over here, we're talking about it's the same year. Just one guy thought it was wheat, and the one guy thought it was barley. So is that good? So he's saying that is good. And why is that good? So what are you going to say? And people don't necessarily notice what wheat or barley. So therefore they were testifying about the same years, and they're not big farmers. So one guy says, oh, it looked like wheat. The other guy says, oh, it looked like barley. So therefore they said, oh, it should so we say nevertheless, Kamash Mulan, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that is considered to be good testimony regarding Chazak days 3 years. Let's just get to the Mishnah real quick. We had 3 brothers, remember, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and we had Bob on the other side, and Bob testified in year 1 with Reuben, year 2 with Shimon, and year 3 with Levi. And we started is considered to be three independent testimonies which can add together. In other words, no brothers are considered to be linked because each one is testifying with Bob, so Bob doesn't connect the brothers, and therefore the testimony could be good. So how shtara dahavi chasimila betrayed. So there was a star that two people signed on, and shakuk chayminayim. So one of them died. So Ruvain and Bob, right, were signed on a star, right, and Bob died. So now, in order to go ahead and be Mekayim the star, you need two people to testify about the signatures of Bob. So who came in? So who came along? Reuben, right? Remember, Reuben and Bob signed on. Bob died, so we have to go ahead and confirm Bob's signature. So they had Greg and Shimon. Shimon happens to be the brother of Reuben. So in other words, he had normally you have two witnesses here, right? So this witness died, and you have to have two people testify about it. So one of the people testifying about his signature was this guy's brother, right? So is that good or not? Is that considered to be two brothers to be witnesses on a star? Because through the kayach of one brother, is he being Mekayim the other signature? So he says also so and the two of them came to testify the signature. So this should be okay. Why? It's like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says you have three brothers involved, as long as it's with another guy, right? It's okay. So as long as it was with Bob in the case of with our case, or over there was the other brother was with Greg, was his partner, it should be okay. So however, no. How can you compare it to? Right? Over there, right? In our case, you have exactly half the testimony is being done by Bob, and half of the testimony is being done by the three brothers combined, right? So even the brothers is only one side, right? So even if it's the same person, it would have only done half. But over here, but over here, you have 75% of the testimony of the star really to be from two brothers, right? One is 50% because he's 1/8, and the other 25% is the half that's testifying on the guy who died. So therefore, you really have 75% coming from two brothers, and therefore maybe it's not the good case. We'll say it's too much from Achim, and therefore that star would not be good. We'll stand over here.
It's not about the signature, not about, it's not the